James and John asked Jesus for places of honor next to him when he came into the fullness of his power as ruler of the world. They greatly misunderstood what Jesus was about and what it meant to be great. This is the conversation that followed. So Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. But whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be slave of all. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." A word of God that is still speaking. Thanks be to God.
Usually this is when I expound on the scriptures that we've read for the day, but today we do want to turn our attention to how those scriptures are lived out in action, specifically how each of you lives out your calling to be Christ's witness in the world through this congregation here. Whether your service is visible like the folks behind me or hidden, maybe you're one who pulls up weeds on a Saturday afternoon, we would not be the church we are without you, and we would not be having the witness in the world that we do and in our communities without you. So I'm going to invite our leaders of our ministry teams and committees forward. Why don't you come up and get in line now? They are going to be thanking the volunteers in their area, and then I'll get everybody else at the very end. I know it's going to be very tempting to applaud after each group is mentioned. Let's save our applause for the end. Your hands will hurt if you keep doing it every single time. So I'm just going to turn it over, Cheryl, and let you get started.
For us that are a little shorter. Good morning. I am Cheryl Rennick, and first of all, I want to thank all of you because you have all been great givers to this church in time, talent, and your generosity. I chair our Business and Finance and Stewardship Committee, and our committee leads our congregation into a spiritual formation that allows us to trust God, to serve God, and to enjoy God with all we are and all we have. We strive to ensure that the church is being led by biblical stewardship teachings and by placing before the congregation the Christian basis for disciplined, whole life, joy-filled stewardship response to God's many blessings. This year, our committee consists of myself, Jana Lohr, Sherry Knapp, Sue Bolts, and I would like anybody else that has served on this committee to please raise your hand or stand throughout this long life. So thank you. I also sit on our foundation board. And our foundation, the First Presbyterian Church Foundation, has used its funds to benefit the church in important areas, including major capital improvements to the church and property, and special projects which could not have been accomplished within the annual budget. It is the purpose of the foundation to expand and enrich the mission of the church. Our current board for the foundation is Jim Wagner, Julie Van Meter, Jana Lohr, Carol Ottschott, Pam Carrier, and myself. Anybody else that has served on the foundation, would you please raise your hands also? And I want to thank you all.
Good morning. I am Cindy Lloyd, and I serve or am on the CE committee, and I'm also currently the elder discussion right now for the CE committee. The rest of the committee members are, and if you're here, raise your hand, and the teacher in me is going to say, not this. This, raise your hand. Okay, so the rest of the committee is Audrey Richard, Connie Philippi, she's doing it, Nate and Julie Van Meter, Kelly Pete, we hope you're watching, and Mary Fultner, who does the children's music for us and works with our wonderful music director, Brian Fultner. And of course, we could not be a CE committee without our wonderful staff member, Chris Brammer. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And other volunteers that may have helped us with things are, raise your hand if you ever helped, like with the intergenerational summer potluck picnic. I hope Paul's raising his hand. He made fabulous meat. And then the back to school parking lot kickoff. And then we need volunteers that help us with the 5th Sunday intergenerational breakfast. And we have an Easter egg hunt. And there is, youth group volunteers that help. And I believe all these people are in your bulletin. Now, to end, here is my important CE message. Hit it, Charles. C is for the commitment that we give you. E is for education, never-ending learning. Committee is for the group planning and organizing. In order for us to keep learning about God all our lives. The CE committee doesn't know it yet, but we're going to sing that before every meeting.
I won't be as bubbly. I'm sorry. Charles, when I say hit it, no. My name's Jim Wagner, and I'm here representing the Hospitality Committee. And I say representing because our chairman, Rick Seipert, is not here and won't be for the rest of the summer. And I just can't say enough about what Rick has done to help us get off the ground, because we're a relatively new committee. Our members, we're small but mighty. Mike and Pam Boyle are here this morning. My wife is on the committee, and Carol Otshot. We're small, and we need others to help us. And like I say, we're just kind of starting to get off the ground. You know, our job is to help identify prospective members and welcome them in worship. And but it's more than that. It's also to help integrate these people after they've joined the church, because if we don't get people involved, they're not going to stick around. So what have we done to make that happen? We've instituted a dependable every Sunday coffee and treats after the service, and I think it's been well received. I'd like to thank everybody who's helped out with that, because our committee is so small we couldn't do it without others joining us and helping to serve and bring the treats, so thanks for everybody. We've instituted an online directory, tried to get an online directory off the ground. If you were here at the annual meeting, you received mugs and magnets, and those were, you know, anytime you want to present those to someone who you feel might be a candidate to join our church, or if you'd like to have one, let us know. And very soon we're going to have a meet the members. We're just going to get this off the ground hopefully in the next few weeks, but where if you receive a call from us or an email asking a little bit about you, and then we'd like to have a little feature in the newsletter every week. So, you know, we hope you'll cooperate. And other than that, thanks very much.
Sorry, I needed the booster. Hi, everybody. My name is Courtney Whitstruck, and I am on the Mission and Justice Ministry team. I am not the chair, but the 3 or 4 people that are in front of me on the committee couldn't be here, so I obviously was the next best choice and the last choice. So our committee members are Christy Abraham, Jerry Brandt, or Jer Bear, as I like to call her, Shereen Mills, Pam Carrier has been with our group, and then Pastor Sue as well. So could you all please, how did you want them to raise their hands? Like this? Like this, please. And those of you who are watching from home that I just named, Christy, Jerry, Shereen, please also, I expect you doing this from home. So the Mission and Justice team's goal is to plan and conduct activities designed to help us become aware of mission needs and issues in our community and throughout the world, and to be partners with Christ in putting our faith into action for the sake of others. And some of the ways that we've done this is, many of you have seen this in the bulletin or have heard about it, but the McPhee Elementary Splash, the Science Fair, the Food Market, the Gathering Places Tuesday evening meals, Lighthouse, Justice in Action, which I know you've heard me talk a lot about. And by the way, we got our final count for the number of folks representing FPC, and we had, what, 58? 58 people there, woohoo! Also, and I'm gonna pronounce this terribly, so Spanish speakers, I apologize in advance, but the El Centro de las Americas fundraiser in April, which was a really good time, I was there as well. And then out in Nebraska with the Pride Festival coming up in June. So those are all ways that the committee gets involved in the community. So if you're involved in any one of those organizations that I just named, please also do Cindy's hand wave. There we go, all right. And I think that is my 2 minutes. Emily, please leave some space for God, okay? Sorry. Poor Emily, she's never going to forgive me now.
Good morning, I'm Steve Henderson. I chair the Music and Fine Arts Committee here at the church and wanted to spend a minute or two talking to you about our music program. First, I will introduce our other committee members, and I think we have a couple here at least this morning. I'll just run through them. Jan Enstrom, Louise McCormley, Lou Ann Miller, and Katie Pinch. If you'd wave your hands, I would appreciate that. Here we are. And one of the things that our committee does is help enrich the worship experience here by virtue of adding music to that. And as it's already been alluded to in our earlier parts of the service, last week was Music Sunday here. And if you had an opportunity to be part of that service, we had the music program running pretty much at full tilt. The sanctuary was pretty well filled up with volunteers up here of music. So once again, I'm going to just run through some of those groups: the adult choir, the youth choir, the bell choir, instrumentalists, soloists, the parents, and others that helped with all of those groups. If you do the proverbial hand wave, I'd sure appreciate that. So, one of the other things we do in our committee is help administer and organize and plan and present the Arts for the Soul concert series. And one of the things I would highlight just as an event that brings a smile to my face, during this last concert, we also had an event where we invited from McPhee the kids to come and listen to a concert on a Friday afternoon. And so I would say there were some volunteers that helped with what I'll refer to as benevolent herding, where we had about 300 kids and staff members from McPhee here listening to that concert. And even though they aren't volunteers, I think I will mention their names have already been brought up once or twice, but Dr. Brian Fultner, our music director, and Dr. Charles Orr, our organist and pianist. So thank you very much.
Oh, I think I will need the stool. I'm sorry. All right, here we go. Good morning. My name is Carol Ottschacht, and I'm the chair of the nominating committee. This is the first time that I've been honored to hold this role, and it's exciting. I know Jim Wagner said, "What? You're excited about this? This committee is exciting?" Well, it is. And I first would like to introduce the other members of the committee. Jim Wagner is the vice moderator. And if you could raise your hand when I call your name. Christy Abraham is serving. Jerry Philippi is serving if you're here. Thank you. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Nancy Yannicki and Debbie Dufresne, Betty Tenhulzen, and I think that I've got Owen Hill also. So thank you so much for serving. And we started our committee work this morning. Now that's kind of early. Most people are thinking, oh yeah, you aren't going to come asking us to serve on a committee until perhaps later in the year. Well, we felt it's very important that we are being called to start this process earlier so that we can bring on members that we are responsible for discerning the call for to the session, to the Board of Deacons. We've got at-large nominating committee members that we need to nominate as well as the foundation board. So some pretty significant boards. All of the folks that are stepping up today and sharing their thanks for their committees and volunteers have served or are serving on one of those boards. So these are the leaders of the church. And so that's the role and the purpose of our committee, is to bring those individuals who are willing to serve in leadership roles. And we'd be really excited to hear from you if you are interested in one of those roles. Our purpose is really to discern, as I mentioned earlier, God's call. If you are feeling that you are being called to one of these roles, we would like to know that. One of our chief responsibilities is to help identify the skills and the talents that are necessary in each one of these roles, and then to ensure that the individual that we're nominating is going to be able to fill that role successfully. So again, it's very exciting that we've gotten our work started today, and anyone that served on the nominating committee previously, if you could please raise your hands. We'd like to thank you. There's quite a few. Thank you very much. We're excited at this opportunity as we go forward.
I definitely don't need that. Hi, I'm Brad Henricks. I'm here representing the online ministry team. As we all know, in 2020, we all experienced online ministry because we couldn't be here as a group. But we also recognize that even today, we have a number of people joining us virtually online. And our purpose is to build and enhance a robust online ministry that engages people in this community and beyond our current membership and leads them on a path of discipleship. And so we've had a couple years together. We've had a few adventures and a few misadventures along the way. We're still learning an awful lot about this space. Online ministry, there's a number of different ways to do it. We've consulted with churches and outside groups and gone to so many different websites and looked at how other people are doing it. And you're starting to see changes here on ours. I know we have a number of people joining today. We have a new website that's coming out. I don't know, is that live yet?
It's live, but it has problems.
Okay, well, like I said, misadventures, we're moving along. As a matter of fact, if anyone tried to email people here at the church on Monday, you probably got an interesting message back about that's an invalid email address. So we had we have some growing pains, but we are reaching out, and a number of people are joining, and I think on any given Sunday we have a fairly large number. And the people in our team reflect this as well. I mean, Nancy O'Brien, who's a member of our group, she is in Minneapolis. Mary Gleisner and Amanda Gleisner, you may remember Mary. She used to ring bells with us here when she was in town, but she's in the Kansas City area along with her daughter, and they're on this team. And then Vina Alicio and Jessica Group and myself round out the team. We have, like I said, been learning this whole way. We're going to continue to learn and provide this new space that's exciting and to reach as many people as we can on any given Sunday. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul Yassa. I'm on the session. I'm serving actually as chair of two committees. Both of us are sort of behind the scenes, not active Sunday mornings. First is a personnel committee, and this one I had to make sure I get all the words right, to provide for an orderly, focused, and considerate means for the session to build healthy work environment for all church staff in support of the mission and ministry of First Presbyterian Church. No, we're not out there to hire and fire, we're out there to support. We want to make sure we've got the best people in place, provide support for them, and as such, being actively involved in the committee this year, and if you're here, raise your hand, Brett Rickard, Jerry Brandt, Julie Van Meter, and Harry Oldhoff. Now, you may not recognize his name. He is a church member of ours in Iowa and worships online, as Brad just told us about. And then Pastor Sue's head of staff is on our committee as well. The second committee, again, following up on Brad, for those who are grayer than I am, it used to be called the radio ministry. We had KFOR. We've changed the name over the years. We are now the media committee, and we keep changing because media keeps changing. The radio ministry went away. We went to a community access online, and we've gone to support a lot of other things. And so now the media committee is basically charged to provide AV support for First Presbyterian Church, including video recordings, editing, sound for worship, and the AV for other church activities and meetings. And right now, technically, our committee's on hiatus, sort of trying to figure out where we're headed with the media, where technology is headed. But currently on the committee, Linda Brosnick, Shannon Yannicke, Jim and Debbie Dufresne, Steve and Owen Hill. And then many thanks to Sam Milan. He's right behind that wall. We decided a few years ago to hire someone with some skills and experience with video and video editing, and he's our cameraman now. And then Linda Rosnick, our sound volunteer. Couldn't do it without him. Thank you.
I'm Terry Sherman, and I'm here to represent the Worship and Sacrament Committee. We are here to enhance your worship experience every Sunday. We are a small group, but we get a lot done. George Wheeler, Christy Abraham, and myself are on that committee. And we work together with Pastor Sue and our music director, Brian Fultner, to make your Sunday morning's experience all happen. So we work together as far as, I don't set the actual Sunday agenda, that's the Sue and Brian thing. But I'm here to make sure that the communion table is set, the front is decorated, that we have the right ushers in place, the right people to do everything. So we have a lot of volunteers that help our small committee. We want to thank Arta, who lines up our liturgists every Sunday. So if you get a call from her, say yes. We also have our group of ushers, and if you've ever been an usher, ever, please raise your hand. These ushers do a lot of things for us on Sunday mornings that you probably don't even notice. You see them handing out the bulletins, which they do. You see them do that, but they also make sure the flowers are here. They make sure the candles are lit. They make sure the doors are unlocked and opened and welcome for you on Sunday mornings, and many other things. They work in a set of teams, so they don't work every Sunday. They might work 1 month and then they have a month off or a month. I'm not really sure what their schedule is, but they schedule this all. So they work as a team. So if you ever want to just do something that's not really, too hard, or something that you don't think you can do because you can't stand up in front of anybody, be an usher. It's a great group of people. We also have elders that help with our communion on Communion Sundays. And so if you get a call from me, I might ask you to help serve communion. We also have a group of people that have helped over the year to decorate the church. At Christmas time, we always have a Sunday where we decorate. And if you help decorate, ever raise your hand. That's a big job. We hang the wreaths, we hang the banners, we hang everything that has to do with Christmas. So we always do that on a Sunday right after Thanksgiving. And then we also have Audrey Rickard, who helps us do a lot of her own decorating. Sometimes we have her decorate the front of the church. And so watch for some new decorations to come up for the summer. Anyway, so we have a small group, but we do a lot, and we hope that you enjoy your Sunday morning worships with us online as well.
I'm Bill Yannicki. I chair Property Committee. Property Committee has a responsibility to oversee and maintain church property and to coordinate the many groups and that use the church during the week. The committee currently has following members: Lynn Bongi, Joan Berglund, Javante Boyd, Gary Hughes, Trev Peterson, Walt Schott, Nate Van Meter, and Carrie Cross from church staff. Those who are here, please raise your hand. Thanks, Walt. We've had some major projects in the last year or two. We've done some plastering in the church building. We've done some work on the windows of this beautiful building. We've done some renovation of the church yard. To maintain this beautiful building is very expensive. One of the major concerns or challenges that we've had is to keep the church warm in the winter and cool in the summer. We have an HVAC system that is starting to get old and difficult to maintain. The grounds have been mowed in the past by volunteers. This year, we hired a contractor to do the mowing, but we continue to use volunteers in the spring and the fall to clean up the property. And during the year, we have volunteers that maintain the beds and around the parking lot. All those who have done some of that, I see a bunch of you out there. There's 15 or 20. Thank you very much. I'd like to have everybody raise their hand who would like to serve on the property committee this coming year. Okay. Thank you all for keeping the place beautiful.
And so I get the privilege of recognizing all of the other volunteers. We have our deacons. The deacons are the pastoral care team of our church. They visit, they take communion, they keep in regular contact. So they're our first line of knowing where the special needs are, and they are there for you. Our deacons are Sandy Bongi, Audrey Richard, and you can always wave your hand when I say your name, Nancy Yannicki, Shannon Diedrichsen, Rick Hauk, and Jerry Philippi. Our session is the governing body of the church, and they have the responsibility of measuring the faithfulness of the church and guiding our witness to God's activity in the world so that we become a community of faith, hope, love, and witness. You've met several of them already. Most of our elders chair a committee or serve on one. Our full session is Walt Schott, Steve Henderson, Carol Ottschott, Vina Alicio, Jessica Group, Sue Bowles, Cheryl Rennick, Shireen Mills, Rick Seipert, Jerry Brandt, Terry Sherman, Cindy Lloyd, Paul Yassa, and Brett Richard. So wave your hands if I mentioned you there. We have several task forces that are semi-short term. They go on for as long as they're needed. We have a renewal leave task force. They're the group that helped me plan my focus and activities for my renewal leave that will start in July, and also are planning some things for our congregation to enjoy during that time. And that is Vina Alicio, Jana Lord, Julie Van Meter, and Terry Sherman, so wave your hands. We have a staffing task force. You're going to hear some familiar names on this one. They've been meeting over the past few years to help us review our church staffing needs in light of our ministry and resources and make recommendations to the session about how to staff for growth. We have Shireen Mills, Julie Van Meter, Vina Alicio, Walt Schott, and Jerry Brandt on that one, so wave your hand if you're on there. We have a risk assessment team. Should there be any safety concerns related to people in the church, they take the lead in helping the session determine the best course of action that extends both God's welcome and attends to the safety of all people. And that's Diane Friedendahl-Smith, Jana Lohr, and Nate Van Meter, and I know Nate's here somewhere, and a few others. Anybody? Yep. Yeah, Nate's kind of like hiding behind a post for me there. We have Presbytery commissioners. They participate in our Presbytery, which is our regional body, and they vote on such things as the structure and staff of the Presbytery. So the Presbytery is better set up to help our churches do ministry, and they vote on recommendations that come down from our General Assembly that affect the whole church. And that's Cindy Lloyd, Audrey Richard, and alternate Cheryl Rennick, so wave your hands. And then we have Presbyterian women who help out when we have a funeral or congregational meal and need food servers, who lead fellowship groups and Bible studies. I'm not going to mention all of those names, but wave your hands if you've been involved in that. We have Walt Schott and Carol Otschott and Nate and Julie Van Meter who plan and lead our spring fellowship trip, and I know you are all here. We have a mighty sewing group of 2 people, Irene Colburn and Amy Peterson, and we have Nora Chismore, who's been teaching our knitting class. So wave your hand if you're here. Wonderful. And then there are all the rest of the people who pick up trash around the church when it's not your job, who help out in the office when Carrie's on vacation, who answer phones, stuff envelopes, take photos, provide food, help with meals and receptions, answer the occasional request from me out of the blue for something totally weird. If you have ever helped out in any way that hasn't already been mentioned, like what I just said, or anything else that isn't mentioned, please raise your hand. And now, this is the fun part. Everybody who's volunteered in any way in this church, please stand. We just don't get much of a sense when we see hands being waved. This is exciting for me. You could sit down. This is exciting for me because we can't be the church without you all. Brian, Chris, myself, and Charles get a lot of people saying thank you to us for the things that go on at this church. But if it were just the 4 of us, I will guarantee you nothing would happen. None of us can do our work without all of you as well, and really, you are the ones that make this church great. So thank you, everyone, for all that you do. Paul, in his letter to the Corinthian church, says we all have gifts given by the Spirit for the common good. So thank you for using your gifts.